How's she going, boys? Mike here. Welcome back to Grampie's Workshop. Something nice that you can drop in. Today's task in the shop is on my tractor. I've got a blade on the front of it for plowing snow, as you've seen. I have lift and lower cylinder, and I have an angle cylinder on that, hydraulic cylinder. The hoses I have going to those cylinders run from those cylinders out along the chassis of the tractor back to the joystick controller. Sometimes, because of the slack I have in those hoses to allow for proper movement up there, those hoses can get rubbed and brushed by the front wheel of the tractor when I'm making, especially when I'm making sharp turns. What that has caused is the rubber sheath on the hydraulic hoses has worn off. In some places right down to the metal braid on the hydraulic hose. And I don't like that. That weakens the hydraulic hose. And if I lose one of those hoses, it won't take long to pump with all the hydraulic oil in my tractor, and that wouldn't be a good thing for the tractor or the environment. So I'm concerned about that. So before I go ahead and buy new hoses and change them, I thought I would try something. Last time I was in Princess Auto, they had this fabric tubing that you use to slide over hydraulic hoses for protection. So what I did was I bought some of that. And what I'm going to try and do here today is I'm going to cut a length of that, see if I can fit it over the hydraulic hoses to sort of protect them a little bit from this scuffing and scraping that comes from the tire. And also I'm going to try to reroute the hoses along the chassis of the tractor to keep them away from the tire so that this won't get worse. So I'd like you to come along and have a look, see how I do that, because I might be able to do it and I might not. It's going to be exciting. Let's go. Alright, here we are at the front of the tractor. Here's the hydraulic hoses I'm talking about. This is the lift and lower cylinder, and on the other side here, these hoses go to the angle cylinder. Now, what I'm talking about is the hoses get scuffed as they rub against this tire. So what I did, just temporary, is I put a tie wrap around them. So I'm going to cut that off, and I'm just going to try and show you here. Right here you can see it's right down to the wire, right? I don't like that, and both of those hoses are scuffed. These are hoses that I added to the angle cylinder. These ones are the original ones that were on the lift and lower cylinder, and they don't seem to be bothered much by it. Although I notice this hose up here is a little scuffed too on the inside, where that must have been rubbing maybe against here. So anyways, the problem I'm having is the scuffing. So that's what I'm going to try to address today. So I'm going to start by removing these two hoses from the joystick controller. And put the plugs in them. Keep them clean. So I have some tie wraps on here just to hold these hoses in place. Okay, so what I've done is I'm disconnecting all the hoses just to make it easier to get at them. So now you can really see these hoses are scuffed up pretty bad. So I'm going to cut the tie wraps off here. So this is what I have for the sheath, if you can see that. It's a hose protection sleeve. It's 1.38 ID. So I determined that I needed 5 feet of this sheathing, so I'm going to measure off 5 feet. So we'll just cut this off. Alright. Now another thing I'd like to do is, this sheathing unravels pretty easy, so I have my torch here, I just want to flame the edge of it there to keep it from fraying. So you open up the hose and just put her in the flame a little bit like that. Just keeps it from fraying. Doesn't take much heat, eh? There you go. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to take one of these ends. Well, I'm not going to turn it in just yet. I'm going to take it over and I'm going to slide this now over both my hoses. So let's go do that. Alright, here's my hydraulic hoses, and I've taken the quick connect fittings off the end of them so it would be easier to get in the sheath. So we'll just put these hoses in the sheath, if I can. Well, that's good news, at least they both fit. Alright, so there's the sheath on them. Now what I'd like to do is take this end and curl it back in underneath itself if I could, to make a nice smooth edge. Take my gloves off. I can't feel with these on. They're great for keeping oil off your hands, but okay, there's that end. So what I've done here is I put the protective sheath on both sets of cables. So this first set of cables right here on top, those are for the lift and lower, and then down below the angle cylinder I put the sheath on that one as well. I thought I may as well, while I'm at it, protect them both, because I had to take the fittings off the ends of the cables down here to get the sheath over them. I thought it was prudent to do that. So now I'm going to put run the cables back up to the joystick controller, and then I'll put the fittings back on the end, because you have to get the fittings on. They're not swivel fittings, so you have to get them on in such a way that the cable is not twisted or under stress. So I'm putting Teflon tape on these fittings. I find it's always a good idea to put Teflon tape on the fittings just to make sure. But you want to just make sure that it's covered well. But the seat in here, you try to keep the Teflon off the seat, or I do anyway. And wrap the Teflon on the way you tighten the fitting. Alright, so that'll do for those two. Now I'll put them on these ones. I'm just putting these on loose now, because I'll straighten them up when I get them at the joystick connector, so that the hose won't have any tension or twists in it. I haven't put the caps on here yet, because the caps I have for these hoses, they've just got a loop on them, so they're easy to put on. You don't have to worry about having the fittings on them, right? So, alright, I'm going to run these up there now to try to connect them to the joystick holder. Alright, so here's a hook here that we use to hold when I just had one set of cables. So I think I can stick that in there, and I can lay this one alongside it, and I think what I'll do is I'll put a tie wrap around all that to hold it all in place. And then these sheaths here, where do I just pull this one down a little further? There. So then these sheaths should protect those cables from when this wheel swings around. There's a hole right here in the frame, and I might just put a tie wrap around that too, to sort of hold everything up tight like that, just to make sure. Okay, so we have some tie wraps, so I'm going to put one right through here. There. That should hold that up there, and that's, I think, enough slack to do what I need to do. Now this one, I think I'm going to need a couple. I'm going to tie wrap that first sheath in there first. And then tie wrap the second sheath to the first sheath. Something like that. I think that'll do us. Get rid of these ends. Just going to put a tie wrap around the end of these, just to hold them, can't hurt anything. Just put a tie wrap around the end of the sheathing. Alright, so there's the finished product. I put this sheath on here, tie wrapped, folded the end under and tie wrapped it, and then tucked this one, which is the one that was getting smashed up and cut up by the front wheel here, tucked that one in between the sheath for the lift and lower cylinder, and I ran them back up to the joystick. So that looks a lot better. I'm going to start her up now and try it. So we got those sheaths put on the cables, turned out alright. I rerouted the cables a little bit to keep them back in tight close to the chassis, so that should protect them from any further damage. So I hope this works. Anyways, thanks for watching, thanks for tuning in, hope you enjoyed the video. Please share it with your friends. Appreciate all the time you take watching my videos, guys and girls, so that's great. It's amazing how many people watch my videos. It's just humbling. I don't understand it myself. But I guess if I were watching, I'd watch my channel, so I hope you do too. We'll talk to you.